News. Hello, this is Fake News, Fact and Fiction from BBC Learning English. I'm Hugo.
And I'm Sam.
And as you can see, we're not in the studio today. Like in many parts of the world, we're practicing social distancing and working from home. How are you doing there, Sam?
I'm doing okay, thank you, Hugo. But it is definitely a strange world that we're living in right now, isn't it? And I don't know if you remember, but in our first program, we talked about stories going viral, so spreading around the internet really quickly. And well, now what we have is a real virus that has gone viral.
Indeed. And that is going to be the focus of today's program. This pandemic has seen a large amount of fake news attached to it. And as we sit at home browsing the internet, we may have come across many different stories and theories about the causes of the virus or possible cures. So today, we're looking at fake news in the era of COVID-19. But before we get to that, Sam, do you have some vocabulary for us?
Yes, I do. So today I'm focusing on some useful vocabulary you might use if you think that what you've seen online is not true. Red flags are often used as a warning sign. In fact, in Britain, when motor cars were first used on the streets, the law said that you had to have someone walking in front of the vehicle carrying a red flag to warn other road users. These days, if a piece of information or a social media post raises a red flag, it means you are suspicious that it might be fake news. There are many red flags to watch out for. For example, a post that says something like, "The media doesn't want you to know this." Or maybe it's a meme or a quote that claims that a politician you don't like has said or done something terrible. These posts might be easy to share, or they might even say, "You must share this," or "Share this if you agree." Those are some examples of red flags that could make you doubt how true the information is. We all like to share things, and we all like it when things we share are liked. But before you hit that share button, it's a good idea to fact-check the information. The verb fact-check, first used in the 1970s, simply means to check the facts to confirm that the information is true. There are quite a few fact-checking websites which can help you to verify, prove, or disprove the information. Debunk, a verb from the 1920s, means to prove or demonstrate that something is not true, that it's completely false. So fact-checking can help you to debunk false claims made on social media. Now, you might be wondering, as there is a word debunk, is there a word bunk? Well, yes, there is, but it's not a verb, it's a noun. Bunk and also bunkum are words that mean nonsense. Interestingly, they are political in origin and come from the county of Buncombe in the United States. This county was represented by a politician who talked a lot without saying anything important, so he talked bunkum. Now back to the studio.
Very interesting, Sam. It certainly wasn't Buncombe, but there was a piece of fake news there, wasn't there? Back to the studio.
Yes, well spotted. I did record that section before I knew that we would be filming from home for this episode, so I hope you will forgive me for that, Hugo.
Of course. Now, this pandemic has been dominating the news for a long time now, and there are many legitimate areas of discussion to do with restrictions of movement, testing, treatments, and the economy.
But we've also seen a lot of different theories about the virus, which are not supported by any evidence, but which many people have still shared. Some of these are what are known as conspiracy theories.
And examples of conspiracy theories are that the Earth is flat or that the moon landings were fake. And even though these theories are comprehensively debunked, some people still strongly believe them. To find out more about conspiracy theories, we spoke to Professor Joe Uszynski. He's an associate professor of political science at the University of Miami and the author of the book Conspiracy Theories, a Primer. We asked him first to define the term conspiracy theory and why people believe them.
A conspiracy theory is an allegation or an idea that a small group of powerful people are working in secret to affect an event or circumstance in a way that benefits them and harms the common good. And further, this theory hasn't been confirmed by the people we would look to confirm such events. There's nothing new about conspiracy theories, and you can find them if you look through almost any historical document. So, for example, the United States Declaration of Independence has a few paragraphs about politics, but then once you read beneath that, it's largely a list of conspiracy theories about the King of England. So they exist amongst all people at all times. They're very much a human constant. People like to have their ideas make sense when in combination with each other. So in order for someone to adopt a conspiracy theory, that theory has to match with what they already believe. So, for example, if you really like President Obama, you're probably not going to think that he faked his birth certificate to illegally become president. If you really like President Bush, you're not going to buy the theory that he blew up the Twin Towers on 9/11. So people's conspiracy theories have to match their underlying worldviews that they already carry with them. So that's why people's conspiracy theories tend to match their political persuasion, whether they're liberal or conservative, and they have to match their other worldviews too. So for that reason, it's actually more difficult to convince people of conspiracy theories than you might think.
So we only really buy into a conspiracy theory if it's in line with what we already think about the world.
Yes, and that ties in with a lot of the fake news research, doesn't it? So people will share things they believe to be true or want to be true because the ideas match with their own political or ideological views. I'd also like to mention the phrase buy or buy into, which he and you, Hugo, just used. So these both mean to believe or accept that something is true. And you can use the phrase, I don't buy it, if you are not convinced that something is true. So, for example, I heard somewhere that eating lemons can cure coronavirus, but I don't buy it.
Absolutely. Now, let's take a trip around the world. We spoke to a number of our BBC colleagues across the globe to find out what kind of fake news and conspiracy theories related to COVID-19 have been shared on different continents. And apologies in advance for the quality of the line in some cases.
Here in Afghanistan, at the beginning of COVID-19 crisis, Amullah in west of country in Herat compared the number of fatalities in Muslim countries with the number of deaths in Western countries. And after they said that these numbers shows that COVID-19 and coronavirus does not kill Muslims. But he was absolutely wrong. Nowadays, we see the number of deaths in Muslim countries and here in Afghanistan is rising day and by day.
We have received video and some content with maybe sometimes linked to internet or to some documents and so on, saying that the virus has been created by US scientists who have helped Chinese scientists in Wuhan. But less than 2 weeks later, we have received another video, and other video in the same line, on the same topic, saying that time that the virus has been created by Chinese, helped by French scientists. But what was weird is that it's roughly the same images. The same images that they're giving as evidence of the plot. This shows clearly that it's a fake.
Here in Brazil, there are a lot of messages on WhatsApp and other social media showing photos and videos of people opening coffins in cemeteries and showing them full of stones. And they use this to support the conspiracy theory that people are like increasing the number of deaths artificially just to create problems to our president. There are a lot of these messages with these images to support this idea that this situation is created to hurt him politically. But these images are from like a case 2 years ago in a city in São Paulo state in the country, that it was like a fraud, like to insurance, like 2 years ago. So yeah, this is one of the things that are happening here because of the pandemic.
Here in Hong Kong, I've heard many theories, and you can always find the most confidential intelligence in my mother's mobile phone. There was a time I received an urgent call from her, only to find that she started reading a WhatsApp message to me. That was about how the US military smuggled coronavirus to Wuhan in order to destroy China's fast-growing economy. Of course, that was absolutely groundless. However, the message was circulated widely in her social circle. There are patriots who tend to believe any conspiracy theories targeted at the US authority. So even if I could convince her that the information was fake this time, she would only send me another one next time. It's just unstoppable.
So we see here some typical examples of fake news, such as real photographs being deliberately misdescribed, and examples of the kind of belief in conspiracy theories Professor Uszynski was talking about.
Yes, and we hear that people want to share these theories because they have a negative view of a particular country and are happy to believe almost anything negative they hear about them. I'd also like to pick out a particular word that Billy Chan used. He used the word groundless to refer to some claims. So groundless means not based on any evidence. There's no proof for it.
So there we had some insights from around the world. Let's look closer to home now. We're joined by our BBC colleague Mariana Spring. Mariana, thanks for being with us. So if you can just explain the work you do here at the BBC first.
Yes, so I am the specialist disinformation reporter, which means that me, along with a team at BBC Trending, who are part of the World Service, and also BBC Monitoring and BBC Reality Check. So we investigate misleading posts, as well as looking to tell the stories of the people who fight and spread misinformation across the world.
So you must be really, really busy. Is it your feeling that from what you've seen, that disinformation, conspiracy theories about COVID-19 are very different around the world?
I think this pandemic is particularly interesting because most of the misleading stuff we've seen has actually been incredibly global. So there was one particularly viral post that we tracked back, a list of dodgy medical myths and tips, and it hopped from the Facebook page of a man in the UK to Facebook groups for Catholics living in India, to the Instagram account of a Ghanaian television presenter. So this stuff really goes global, and it's attributed to a range of different people, to hospitals, professors, doctors in the US, in Africa and Europe. There's no limit to who it can be, who is alleged to have started or spread the rumor. However, I do think there are also specific instances of conspiracy theories or misleading information that are specific to certain countries. In other places, for instance, in the UK, there's been a conspiracy theory relating to 5G, suggesting that 5G technology could perhaps have be linked to coronavirus and the spread of it. Those claims are totally false, but I think because here in the UK we've been talking lots about 5G technology and how it will be rolled out, they've felt relevant. And then in other countries across the world, there are specific home remedies or suggestions, for instance, in China or Vietnam, which have caused harm to people because they believed they would prevent or cure coronavirus.
And how can we in the mainstream media help, particularly in a time when we're being attacked, we're not always trusted by people?
I think there are two crucial things that we can do to cover this area for different audiences. The first one is not just to show our answers, but to show the workings. So when we reveal that something is false or misleading, we don't just put the that assertion out there, we also show how we reached that point. We show how we investigated a specific post or specific claims and why they're untrue. And I think that's a really good way of letting people into how we operate and actually gaining their trust. And secondly, I think it's crucial to educate audiences in how they can both spot and stop misleading stuff spreading online. So there are certain red flags that we look out for when we see something online and that makes me think, oh, that looks a bit suspicious. One of them will be these introductions I've mentioned where a friend's brother's cousin's uncle who's a doctor in New York has said something or other. If you see an introduction like that, it's probably not right, and you need to get to the bottom of who that information has come from. Also, often posts will say, you must read this, you must share it in capital letters or mismatched fonts. And that can also be another sign that something might be misleading. Another key thing that we look out for are posts that play on our emotions. Often accurate information is actually a bit more boring, and it's the stuff that makes us angry or even happy that seems to give us answers we were looking for that tends to be misleading. So that sort of leads around to our top tips for stopping the spread, which are essentially that we just need to pause and think and reflect before we share anything. And repeating that message to audiences is incredibly important in terms of stopping and tackling the spread of misleading stuff online.
Fascinating. Mariana Spring, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
So Sam, anything you'd like to pick up from what Mariana just said?
Yes, she said lots and lots of interesting things, but I'll only focus on two. She used the word misleading a couple of times. So misleading is basically something that is trying to make you think a certain way, but isn't telling you all of the facts. The other word she used was dodgy. So this is basically something that is suspicious. You can't really trust it. It's quite an informal word, and it's an adjective.
Thanks, Sam. Well, that's about all we have time for. But before we go, Sam, please remind us of today's key vocabulary.
Of course. So today we looked at the phrase to raise a red flag. This is used when something about a post or a meme or an image, for example, makes you think that it might not be true or that it might be fake news. The verb to fact check is the process of checking the facts, so trying to find out if something is true or not. If you debunk something, you show that it's not true. And if you verify something, you show the opposite, so you show that it is true. If you buy or buy into something, it means that you believe it. You think it's true. If something is groundless, it has no evidence to support it. Then we looked at misleading, which is something that makes you think a certain way, even though maybe it doesn't present all of the facts. And something dodgy is something that is suspicious, maybe not trustworthy.
Thank you very much, Sam, and thank you for watching this special at-home version of Fake News, Fact and Fiction. Until next time, goodbye and stay safe.
Bye-bye, everyone.